It's
Okay,
recording.
we're recording now. Fantastic. Okay, so if you want to go out or if you want to have a couple of drinks at home or maybe having a bit of a gathering and you're starting to become conscious of the fact that you are on this journey of self-improvement, but at the same time you don't want to be that guy or girl who's there just sort of drinking a bit of water and not really socializing, and you do like the feeling of alcohol, which many of us do, some don't, but especially not the next day, and you want to be part of the crowd and you don't want to be singled out, because in British culture drinking is the accepted norm, and if you're not a drinker you're almost seen as a bit of an outcast. Well, I have some good news for you, but you have to understand that it all comes with some caveats. Now, before we go into the sciences of it all too much, I need to make you aware that alcohol does have a calorie content. So, as you'll all hopefully be aware by this point, 1 gram of protein and 1 gram of carbohydrates contains 4 calories, and 1 gram of fat contains 9 calories because it's more calorie dense as a whole due to the way that it's made up on a cellular level. Maybe you didn't know that, but you do now. Alcohol sits in the weird sort of middle ground and has 7 calories per gram. So when people think that they can go on a night out and just drink loads because they've got clear spirits and stuff and not be adding in excess calories into the diet, they're totally wrong. And I'm going to say this straight out, that you have to accommodate for it. So if you're someone who has regular alcohol on the night time, even if it's 1 or 2 glasses of wine most nights, or perhaps you're someone that diets quite well throughout the week. Oh, I hate that term, but you know what I mean. If your nutrition's good throughout the week and then it gets to the weekend, maybe a Friday or a Saturday night, and you think to yourself, oh, actually, you know what? I'll just go on the vodka and the diet lemonade, etc., and that'll be fine. You're still going to be ingesting a fair amount of calories. Now, if you're someone that can drink like a fish, and I think with lockdown, either people will become absolute drinking veterans, or you're going to be one of those people which is a lightweight. It'll probably be better to be more of a lightweight, someone who gets a little bit of a buzz easier, because you're going to save yourself the calorie hassle over the following week, and ultimately the issues of perhaps undoing the work that you've done. So I'll run through some numbers for you just to give you an idea of what you're consuming and how it affects you from a nutritional point of view. Then I'm going to give you some strategies that you can implement so that you can still enjoy your nights out and still feel guilt-free. So I'll go through some numbers. I'm then going to go through the actual effects of alcohol in the body. This isn't a rant. I like to drink myself. I don't drink often. I used to quite a lot and get away with it. However, I try not to now, because I try and be more conscious of its effect on my hormones. So as I mentioned before, 1 gram of alcohol contains 7 calories. That doesn't mean if you have a pint of beer, which is about 560-ish milliliters, that you're going to have, on a rough conversion, 530 times 7, because if it was, that would be one super calorie dense drink. That's not the case. However, alcohol does have an alcohol content within any alcoholic drink. Pardon me. And the more alcohol that's in there, along with the way that the alcohol is made up, so how it's produced, whether it's produced with fermentation, whether it's cold pressing, whether it's hot pressing, steaming, etc., how the alcohol is produced is going to dictate the amount of calories that are in it and the additives that are added to it, not only during the alcohol creation process with things like spirits, beers, etc., but also the mixes that you add on top. So thinking along the things of like, vodka, rum, gin, etc., when you add your juices all on top. Now, for many, you'll understand that juice clearly has a calorie content, so you need to pay attention to it. And often enough, the alcoholic drink with juice in it is going to be made with really low quality juice, because the bar needs to make profit, and they're not going to make profit off of using high quality cold pressed juices, okay, which cost them like 3 bottles a pop. Instead, they're going to 3 quid a pop for a carton. Instead, they're going to go to the cash and carry, get the from concentrate stuff, which is super low cost, mega high in sugar to make up that sweetness and give you that illusion of the fruitiness and the taste, etc. Okay, so I wrote down some numbers for you with some clever research, and I'm going to tell you them now. So So essentially what makes alcohol itself so calorie dense is the simple syrups and sugars that are added in, as we mentioned before. But even the calories in things like wine, beer, and liqueurs, etc., that all adds up. And so for an example, okay, for those who like to have a glass of wine on the reg, if you had 2 glasses of wine a day throughout the week, okay, not saying everyone does, but if you do, you're looking at an extra roughly 1,750 calories. And so if you're in a calorie deficit of 500 and you're doing that over 7 days, you've actually just removed 3 days worth of progress, okay? And as we, or most of us will know, to get rid of 1 pound of body weight from fat, that's 3,500 calories. So you've pretty much halved the progress that you're going to be making just by having those extra drinks. Where instead we can do some different things which are going to allow us to still enjoy drinking, but maybe not have it so much on the regular. And I'll talk through the perceived health benefits of things like drinking wine, etc. as well, and the myths behind it too. Okay, so with those calories in mind, right, scaling it up a little bit for those who think having just just have 1 or 2 glasses a night, it's not a big deal, okay? That could be, right, based on those calories consumed per week over a month and then 12 months in a year, and understanding that if you are someone who drinks alcohol regularly, you're also likely to have higher intake periods of alcohol consumption on, for example, weekends. Any event that comes up, you're going to drink more. You can expect a minimum of 25 pounds of additional weight gain with zero benefit to yourself. Again, I'm not ranting saying you shouldn't drink. What I'm saying is you need to be conscious of the fact that what you are drinking is going to directly correlate with your weight loss or body transformation journey. So here's some things. First off, if you're going to have the likes of cocktails, that you should avoid. Okay, so any simple syrup and sugar, because essentially a simple syrup is just slightly melted down sugar, which is then held in a semi-solid state, which is then added in, hence why it's a syrup. Okay, super calorie dense, and you can get alternatives for it too. The next one, like I said before, things like fruit juices and pre-made drink mixes, like you can get those margarita mixes, daiquiri mixes and stuff, mega high in calories, okay? Try and avoid where you can. If you want to have one, don't have 10, okay? Big difference. 1, okay? 2, 4, probably not. 10, you've wasted your week's effort, okay? And you shouldn't be in a calorie deficit throughout the week and only to get to the weekend and then reverse your process. And then once you get to your following way and you're like, oh, I haven't done anything, I wonder what's gone on. I only had 1 night out. Well, you can see what's going on with the body. Okay, other things like salt. Okay, so if an alcoholic beverage or if a cocktail has things like salt around the rim, etc., if you're having multiples of those, that salt is going to basically allow your body and force your body to retain water, okay? Because sodium does that to the body, right? And that's not a good thing. Water retention directly is correlated to things like hypertension, okay? So high blood pressure, okay? So if you're someone who has issues with high blood pressure and you drink on the regular, okay, it can exacerbate the condition. I'm not a doctor, right? But these are facts and you can find them quite easily. Okay, let's go through my little factorinos, okay? All these you can find online, all right? I'm not an alcohol guru. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go through some alternatives so that you can enjoy your night out and not feel super guilty. Now, if you're someone who likes to go down the more the spirits route, that's cool, okay? Even rather than having things like vodka and regular lemonade or regular Coke, okay, that massive switch to the diet alternative, as they call it, or zero, okay, that's going to remove around about 100 to 250 calories, depending on the size of the drink, okay? So that'll bring it down from about 250-ish calories down to 96 calories, which means you can have 10 of those, okay? 10 of those drinks would make 1,000 calories versus 4 of those would make the same thing by making that simple switch, okay? So that's good news. You can also further reduce the calories by getting soda. So you can get soda water and then add in an actual piece of lemon as well. That's going to even bring the calorie content down lower, which is good news. It means you can still get your buzz on, but you're not going to completely trash yourself. Just remember, okay, anything that you add to it is being added to something that already has a caloric content anyway. Okay, alcohol is not calorie free. So the next one of my personal favorites, I love a mojito. Okay, and it pains me to say this, but the syrup is the worst part of it. And so the simple syrups that I add in, even though it's probably only going to be a little drizzle, okay, that's going to be somewhere between 40 and 100 calories that are added on top. Okay, so you can mitigate the excess calories and bring that mojito down from 300 plus calories down to less than 100 by doing two simple things. So first of all, remove the simple syrups. Okay, so don't have that instead. Just ask for like a sweetener in there. Okay, they should be able to just mash one up and chuck it in. Same thing. And then the second one, okay, is opt for a light rum. Okay, so like a light colored rum instead of a dark rum, which I prefer a dark rum, but light rum's fine too. Okay, and then to add in extra flavor, things like adding more mint. So you can ask them to add in more mint. And increasing the soda water and the fresh lime juice put in there, which is also going to really help too. Fresh lime juice went as in squeezed out, not from the bottle. Okay, where it's concentrated. Freshly squeezed lime juice has a very low calorie content, which is fantastic news. Next ones for those who like a little bit of breakfasty tipple or a little hangovery drink or whatever you want to call it. Okay, things like Bloody Marys. Again, super high in calorie content, somewhere between 200 and 400 calories, depending on how we make them. And as Brits, we make them horrendous. So you're thinking more along the lines of the 400 calorie mark. Now you can mitigate against the 400 calories and be below 100 calories by simply combining 1 ounce, so 1 serving, okay, 125 ml serving of vodka with a smaller portion of the fresh tomato juice rather than the concentrated tomato juice as well. And then just adding a dash of Worcester and Tabasco sauces. Okay, this is going to make your drink ultimately smaller, still contain that alcoholic kick, but calorie content is going to be well less than 100 calories versus 200, 300, 400. Okay, which is going to really help. Now, for my beer drinkers, again, if I'm going to have a little pint, I like a little pint every now and then. Why not? Okay, rather than going down the route of the darks and going down the beer route, try and go for a lighter beer or a lager. And you can even get the specific ones like Coors Light, Bud Light, etc. Okay, that's going to bring the calorie content again down very low. Now, for one bottle of the light versions, we'll go through the regular version. So a regular bottle, okay, for example, Budweiser, or if you're talking like a pint of Stella, Foster's, etc., you're looking at somewhere around about the 340 calorie mark. Whereas if you go for the light alternatives, so things like Coors Light, etc., for that same volume, you're looking around about 100 calories, okay? So you're dropping quite a bit off. Again, I'm giving you excuses to be able to drink more, okay? So you can still enjoy your nights. Okay, next, when it comes to wines, okay, so anything wine related, try and go with something that's dry. The sweeter the wine is and the darker the color of the wine, the more calorie content there is. So if you like the red wines, like I said before, with the example, 1,750 calories over, 7 days, having on average 2 a night, which is 25 pounds of weight gain over a year. Okay, you can go for a lighter alternative like a dry rosé or a dry white. Okay, and the calorie content per glass is going to be somewhere around about 120 calories. So better, a lot better. Next, something like champagne. Okay, you can get certain types. Okay, brut or extra brut champagnes. Okay, that means bright that they're dry, and they'll be somewhere around about the sort of 90 calorie mark per glass. And a better alternative would be prosecco, which will bring it down even lower to sort of 77 calories per glass. So again, good. Gin and tonics, I'd imagine you get the theory behind everything now and the facts, should I say. Okay, so go with a brighter, drier tasting gin and opt for the tonic or the soda water as opposed to adding in the juices, etc. And that pretty much rounds up all of the little facts that I found on the alcohol side of things so far, as in how much the content is per beverage. All right. Now, when it comes to things like shots, so things like sours, all the other ones, you get a little pour shots and like Jaeger bombs and all that sort of stuff. Try and avoid them where you can. If you're gonna have one or two, have one or two, but don't have many. Again, super calorie content in them. Okay, calorie content is silly high, especially for a small one. To give you an example, you're looking somewhere for 125 ml shot around about sort of 200 calories. Okay, so quickly adds up. All right, if you're there, having 3 or 4, that's 600 to 800 calories, from done. Okay, especially if you're someone who can really knock them back. So now that we have an understanding of that, I'm going to actually talk through the science behind the negatives of alcohol and the health myths associated with alcohol. First of all, go through the health myths. Okay, so for a long period of time, a lot of people thought that having a glass of wine, on the night time is a good thing because you get antioxidants from it. Yeah, brilliant. You can get antioxidants from a lot of fruit out there and a lot of vegetables. That study that was produced, that was fueled exclusively by the alcohol industry, and it was paid for by the alcohol industry, which means that you can ultimately taint the results of a study. And if you know anything about studies, you know that you could make a study to prove that sunlight doesn't exist by just changing the parameters of, we only checked whether the sun exists between sort of 10 p.m. at night and 5 p.m. in the morning, and then we concluded there was no sun. Okay, you can add in these parameters, and they often do, and the control groups are a little bit hazy, when they come to doing things like blood work, and digestive samples, etc. Okay, so a lot of studies like that, things that have been produced to make a product that you buy be shown in a good light. So things like when the alcohol industry did that, it was actually Italy that fueled that and paid for that study, which was widely regarded. Even the NHS was telling everyone, you can have a glass of wine in the night, it's good for you. Okay, you can get the antioxidants from anywhere. Okay, many foods have antioxidants in them, and antioxidants, they do help with things like your blood pressure, etc., which was the main thing, was it's good for heart health. Okay, so just take that out of your head. Don't think that having an alcoholic drink is going to make you healthier. Okay, it's not. It's always going to be bad for your health because alcohol is a poison. That's one of the reasons why we have things like hangovers through severe dehydration, and more importantly, why we can get sick when we have too much of it. Okay, because it is a poison. It's not something that our body likes. In small quantities, alcohol is good for certain things in the body, but again, that can be found from other means. All right, so the alcohol and how it affects your body is not just in the immediate sense. So if you just had a big night out and you've been really good all week, and you got to Saturday, you go out for Saturday night, and you think, oh, well, I've accounted for it with my calories, okay, all through the week, and you have an absolute crazy bender, okay, the onset and stress to your hormonal balance over the following few days really throws off your progress, okay? And I'll talk through that now. So what happens is, if you weren't aware, alcohol is a depressant, okay? It's not an antidepressant. That's why you can have a drink and you'll immediately start to slump, okay? Especially if you've not drank that much, you'll have one and you'll just feel really mellow. And for many, that's fine. But over, as the drinks become more and more, it just exasperates moods. So if you're angry, you'll feel angry. If you're happy, you'll feel happier. But generally, you'll go on that sort of that stress-based downward spiral through the poisoning of yourself. And it's going to negatively affect your hormones. It's also going to affect the digestive processes that you do. So for those who have more athletic dreams and are wanting to achieve a little bit more than most out of their journeys, and it's not just about weight loss, which it does affect too, which I'll talk about. What it does is it stunts your body's ability to produce testosterone. Now, testosterone is directly correlated with athletic performance. Even women produce testosterone. And so the lower your testosterone levels are, okay, the more likely you are to be depressed. Also, as I said before, alcohol is a depressant naturally, which means that it is going to increase your cortisol levels. Now, the higher your cortisol level is, the more stress your body's going to be under, okay, which is going to stop your body wanting to get rid of excess body fat, which you're trying to get rid of with a calorie deficit. Because when our body is stressed, the first thing that it does is it panics, okay? So you get that whole concept of fight or flight. if you didn't have that immediate reaction, the fight or flight thing, what naturally happens anyway, this is why you can be subconsciously stressed, is from a body fat perspective, sorry. Okay, if you're stressed and you're constantly in a state of anxiety, your body feels like, what if something goes wrong even more? Well, I need to be able to survive. And one of the things that it needs is energy for you to be able to move away from that situation and ultimately protect your organs. So your body will do everything that it can to absorb all the food in your body, break it down into glucose, and then store it as fat cells within the body or increase the size of the fat cells that are in there. So when you're drinking, you'll be consuming these calories. And then over the next 48 to 72 hours, your body will start storing everything that's in its digestive system. Okay. So that's the negative effects of the alcohol. Now, what you can do to mitigate the effect of alcohol in the body, you can't stop it. Okay. You can't get rid of things like hangovers. You can't stop the effects of alcohol in the body. So don't try. What you can do is you can minimize the amount of dehydration that you go through when you drink alcohol. And so you may have heard that the UK government were coming out with things like have a glass of water in between drinks. I don't know anyone that does that when they go to a pub or a bar or whatever, or if you're at a house party or having a gathering of sorts. I don't think anyone does that, and it doesn't work anyway. Okay, because the more fluid you add to your body, the more your body needs to expend. Okay, so the more you're going to be going to the toilet. The more you go to the toilet without replacing the nutrients, okay, and the electrolytes that your body's excreting through urination and pooping, the more it's going to draw out all of the good nutrients, the vitamins and minerals as well. Okay, so adding in more water during the alcohol consumption does not mean that you're going to have a better fix. In reality, what you need to do is just slow down the alcohol consumption anyway, because alcohol doesn't hit you immediately, okay? Unless you poison yourself, then that's why when you have a drink, immediately you throw up if you've had too much, okay? Instead, what you do is you slow down the amount of alcohol that you are drinking throughout the night. Maybe get out of the round system, okay? So maybe you get your own drinks. I'm sure if you have actual understanding friends and family, they'll know that, you don't want to go at their pace. You don't want to get absolutely plastered. If you go at a slower pace, you'll probably be just in the same situation they are, but at least you'll be hundreds of calories better off than they are going to be essentially consuming double in half the time. Now, at the end of the night, another thing that I don't like people to drink alcohol when they're in the early stages of making lifestyle changes is the mental effects. So if you've gone 3-4 weeks, without drinking alcohol because you really focus on your weight loss goals or whatever it may be, and then all of a sudden you go on a massive binge, you will, in your head at the end of the night or during the night, you'll almost get that fuck it switch. Everyone knows what that is, where you're like, all inhibitions are gone. That's why people do things like sleep with people that probably wouldn't sleep with normally, or dance in front of people that wouldn't normally dance in front of, or trash stuff, or take the clothes off, or or sick on the floor and all this sort of stuff. Right? You wouldn't do that in normal, but you get rid of your inhibitions with a little bit of alcohol poisoning. And because of this, when you're in a calorie deficit and it gets to that opportunity where you can't eat, and you get that feeling where you're constantly hungry and all you want to do is just start, munching away, and you have the little table nibbles and stuff. Okay, that just happens because your body's trying to preserve itself by putting food in there. You cannot line the stomach before you go out. Okay, a complete old wives' tale. You can't line the stomach before you go out so that you can drink more or stop yourself from being sick. Okay, subconsciously, you might think that works for you, but in reality, it doesn't. Okay, alcohol poisoning is alcohol poisoning, and you're poisoned when you're sick or when you are extremely drunk. Okay. So, at the end of the night, you've been out. Let's say you left the house 8 o'clock. It gets to sort of 1 o'clock in the morning. You've spent 5 hours consuming hundreds and hundreds of calories worth of drinks, and the common thing for people to do is from there is you go and get a takeaway, whether it's going to the kebab shop or it's getting, you know, a Chinese, or, you know, you might get a curry or a burger or whatever it is. Again, the first thing you're going to do, you're going to usually eat more than you used to eating. And then you're adding this in. Now, because the alcohol is having a negative effect on your hormones, where it can't utilize things, it can't digest things very well, and that stunting of your ability to do that lasts over a couple of days, hence the hangover effect. The food that you eat at the end of the night is going to negatively affect what you're doing. So if you're going to have food at the end of the night, which most people do, opt for a smaller version and then just try and walk away, okay? Because you've already probably consumed around about 2,000 to 3,000 extra calories in that night out. Then you're going to have your dirty takeaway on top. Again, I like one. I'm not anti-takeaway. Just know there's a time and place and account for it. Once you have that, you go home. This is where you can start to essentially repair the damage that you've done when you get home. If you remember, okay, you can do that whole good you, bad you thing, you know, where you set out things for yourself beforehand. And what you need to do is when you go home, don't think that if you just neck a pint of water before you go to bed that you'll be fine, right? It's just going to negatively affect your digestive system. Instead, just go to bed and however you would normally do it. You know, if you're going to brush your teeth, if you're going to have a drink, whatever. Go to bed, and as soon as you wake up the next day, at the earliest opportunity, what you need to do is you need to start replenishing your electrolytes, vitamins, and minerals. And this is going to help combat the effects of the alcohol poisoning, and its negative effects on your hormones, okay? With something super simple as a multivitamin, okay? You can even double up on it. Like I said, with electrolytes, you can get these all super cheap from the likes of Home Bargains. So have your multivitamin ready to go, have your electrolyte ready to go, and have a little bit of water, okay? And when you wake up, don't have a pint of water. I'm talking like 300 milliliters, maybe a little bit more water, okay? That's going to allow you to be able to comfortably swallow the multivitamin and the electrolytes, okay? And then hydration takes time. Having this full container of, you know, juice or water or whatever it is, and just necking it, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to go and urinate, okay? And you're just going to try and basically expel even more. So when you're hydrating, post-night out, very, very gently, okay? So regular sips, you know, aim for somewhere between 200 and 300 milliliters every hour, no more. There's no need to. And you'll have that multivitamin in there that slowly starts to work. The electrolytes slowly going to start replenishing some things, which means the brain swelling is going to reduce. So things like the headache are going to go. The multivitamin and the sodium, which are in the electrolytes combined, they're going to help with making you feel fresher. It's going to help with the digestion process. And then when it comes to the hangover foods, as much as we all want to go for things like the chocolate or, you know, getting a McDonald's breakfast or whatever, try if you can and have leafy greens, okay? Things that have soluble fiber in them, even like flax seeds, you know, whatever it is, try and get some fiber in, okay? It's going to help with the digestive system. It's going to help you get rid of the excess that's in there, okay? Start to thicken up the stool without getting too grim, okay? Thicken up everything so that you can essentially pass this poison, the alcohol, out of your body as efficiently as you can, which means rather than the usual 72-ish hour effect on your hormones, which are causing you to continue to gain weight instead of lose it, you're going to shorten that down to like 24 hours. So that's going to really help with the process. So now what happens is, because you've got very light alternatives that I've gave you for drinks, you can have 10 instead of 4. You can now also, when you get to the end of the night, understand that you don't need to be necking water. You don't need to be doing all these crazy things. Just go to bed, wake up, and then start the rehydration process. Start the renormalization of the brain. Okay, so reducing the swelling on the brain, starting to get the nervous system back in check, and the parasympathetic nervous system as well. That will all just start to get calmed down, which is going to help with your stress levels. Okay, so that's essentially that walkthrough there. Now, if you are going to have a night out and you are wanting to plan in advance, generally what I say to people is don't think about what you're doing immediately. Think about the damage you do over the following days. So for every night out, you need to have 3,000-ish, about 3,000 calories stored away in the bank, which means what I would highly recommend is if you're going out on the Saturday, that somewhere around about 6 to 8 days beforehand, start tracking your calories, figure out how many calories that you need, or ask me and I'll tell you. I'll tell you how many calories you need, okay? That'll be your weight loss. We'll then go a couple of hundred calories underneath that, okay, so that we can account for it, so that when we get to the night out and the damage the next day from the hangover, etc., and the hormonal effects, you have that 3,000 calories in the bank so that you can be at a super low calorie deficit, or not super low, but a lower than normal required calorie deficit to maintain weight loss. You can then from there go into your night out. You can enjoy your night out with some smarter choices. You can have your treat at the end of the night. You can wake up the next day, let the hormones do what it does, have your little hangover breakfast or whatever you need to have, okay? And you'll have accounted for it, meaning that as a minimum, no, you won't have, continued progress, but at least you won't have gained back on, okay? So that's the super easy way you can do it. So if you need help with that, drop me a message and I'll help you out, all right? So that's everything that I can give you tips-wise on enjoying your nights out. Now, I know I said things like alcohol is poison, etc. It is. It's a poison. Doesn't mean you can't enjoy it. Doesn't mean you can't be sociable. Just understand that you need to have alternatives, especially if you're serious about your health and, more importantly, your transformative journey. All right? Does that help?
Yeah.
Cool. Oh, I can hear you again. Hello.
Hello. Yes, definitely. Like, I was going to tune back out because I don't drink, but I do love virgin mojitos, and I overdo the syrup even when I make them myself.
Yeah.
And I didn't obviously realize the damage that does.
Oh yeah. No, it can be pretty negative. Like I said, I mean the simple syrups are pretty thick.
Hmm.
But yeah, at least you got something from it, even if you're not a regular drinker. So
No, definitely. Thank you.
no worries at all. Does anyone need any more guidance on anything alcohol related?
No.
No, and I think you made a really good point as well about saying, think about if you are going to go out to drink, think about the after effects, because sometimes that can help you make a better decision, really.
Yeah, and I think it as well, it's not about guilting yourself into not drinking. It's just understanding that it's going to have an effect, but you can mitigate the majority of the effect by smarter planning beforehand and better choices when you're out. Now, that's me talking to sober you, but drunk you will do whatever it wants to do. All right, but at least if I can give you that, then maybe subconsciously you'll think, actually, I'm not going to do that. I'll do this instead, and hopefully that will help you out. Okay. Yeah, but that's as far as I can go into it anyway, because I'm not an alcohol and guidance counselor. Okay, I can just do the basics anyway. But that's just more based on the question that I was asked the other day about enjoying nights out as opposed to feeling down about the fact that you're going to be damaging your progress and what exactly it does to your body.
Excellent.
Cool. But has anyone got any other questions on anything else that you want me to run through, or?
No? Good. Yeah, I've got to go out and do the rest of my steps.
Ah, okay.
But yeah, all good.
Cool. Okay. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going